Good with everybody, man. I hope everybody's having a productive day, feeling blessed. And like I always say, it's one life, one chance. We only got one chance to do this right. Let's get it done. With that being said, another video. This was something a subscriber shot me maybe about like 2 months ago. Been wanting to talk about it, but I've been doing my best. That's the message I want to send to everybody. If you guys tell me to do a video on something, I write it down. If I can't do it, I can't do it. But if I can get to it, I'm on this computer a lot all day, just researching, see what I can find. If I don't have any particular stories about particular barrios, I'll just do like a documentary version, break down some history, look up a crime that happened in that city to give it its recognition. But I won't make up any stories about these particular barrios that I have no clue of whether if I knew an inmate that was a part of these hoods or not. I just can't do that. I'd rather just be authentic and just saying truthfully to you guys through the comment section, hey, I might not be able to do one on this one. Or if I do, it's just going to be a specific documentary. But he asked me to do this one. I actually shot me the picture. I posted a picture yesterday. Let's go. With that being said, hit that subscribe button, hit that like. Always leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Check the links in the description for the Apple and Spotify music. Stream all my music on any platform. That's all I ever ask from you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Now, we all know the history of the Bulldogs. I've done videos on it. Every other prison channel done videos on it. We all know their street mentality. We all know the way they think, how they operate, how they stand independently, and they're firm believers of their independence. I've heard a lot of speculations, like Bulldogs pretty much got it right. They ain't got to answer to nobody. They have no hierarchy. They're all their own men. They all have their own hoods, but they all come together when it's time for battle. Yeah, the basic concept and their ideology and what they symbolize in itself, standing alone, representing what they are. I'm pretty just like Tango Blast, just like any other gang that's ever went against, these big organizations that stood against them. They have it down right. I can't take that from these guys. But to me, I've only done state time. I've only done prison time in the state of California. I've never crossed state lines other than Arizona and Oklahoma and Mississippi. But like I said, those were private corporations that were nothing but California inmates. So I don't know what it's like to mingle in the feds or in other states with other groups. So I really don't have no stories about such individuals or such factions. That's why this particular video, I'm going to leave it up to you guys to share it in the comment section, what you know of, what your information is, if you've been in these experiences, so on and so forth. This is what we all learn from one another. Because I don't have all the answers, and I'm not going to sit here and make up stories. I just can't do that. But this particular individual said he did 60 months in the feds as an active norteño. And we all know in the feds, it's the NF and norteños. There's no such thing as northerners. Those are the two basic statuses that they're going to have for acknowledgement for one another. But pretty much the NF runs the show. Now, I've always heard, the NF and the Mexican Mafia members, even before the end of hostilities, they functioned together. They were in different cars. They did their own program. But when they came together as a state, and I always heard it was always California versus Arizona versus New Mexico versus down south like Louisiana and Alabama and Georgia and all them. I think I said that right with the states. But anyways, I never understood, and I haven't learned it from any other prison channel, why is it that the feds operate different from the states? Why was 50 years of hate towards one another didn't cross over to the federal faction? Why did they sweep that under the rug and say, you know what, we have bigger problems, bigger issues? I remember I was in Arizona and out of state, and I talked to a norteño that came from the feds, and he was finishing up some state time, I think. I think that's how he put it, or some sense like that. Or he did fed time before, and then he had to finish some state, or he caught a state case, something like that. But he used to tell me that carnales would be on the yard arguing with other carnales about who was going to take over the yard. Then you had Mexican Mafia members trying to take over another portion of the yard. But all these dudes were, developing relationships with the cartels because a lot of the cartels are in the feds, or they were establishing contacts with, certain groups that were throwing the bombs, something like that. He was basically saying the feds is like a big old land of opportunity to get connected from cross state lines. And that's when the filter did come out by the NF back right before I got removed, that the federal faction in Arizona was linking up with the Barrio Azteca and what they were doing and so on and so forth. I've elaborated on that filter a long time ago. It was called the realignment filter. So I do know that Bulldogs were always in the feds. But see, the thing about it, the thing he wanted me to point out, and he brought it. I tried to give him a call. He didn't really answer me so I can get more information. So I'm only going to be able to provide you with the information he shot me in my email. And I told him I'd make a story about it. In the picture, obviously, you have some familianos who are well recognized, who are still considered legends, who are big topics on YouTube. You know, big part of NF history. But the bottom two individuals, one of them was from Barrio Selma Rifa, which is a Bulldog neighborhood. And the other one was Mackenzie Street Bulldogs or Dogs. One or the other. So we had two Bulldogs in the same picture on the same yard functioning with NF members. Now, I'm going to take what he said at face value, provide it for you guys, and give my interpretation. He said specifically on the yard when he was a Norteño on the yard functioning with the NF before he paroled and decided to say, go the good route. Not even drop out, just decided to say, you know what, I'm just going to come home and live a normal life, which is okay. He pretty much said that the NF were educating the Bulldogs on the bonds and format, that a lot of the Bulldogs there knew the bonds and format. That slowly but surely, their education, a lot of them are getting pulled to become Norteños and Souls. And at first I was like, no. But I know they do function together, and a lot of people in the comment section on YouTube and all over YouTube has speculated that these individuals, they all function on the same yard together. Maybe not it's the same car, maybe not intermingle like if you were all one big faction, but they all have their little subsections, but they all come together and function under the California structure. So when he's telling me this, I'm like, okay, I get what you're saying, but I mean, try announcing that out loud to the Bulldogs out here. I'm pretty sure a lot of them are going to disagree with that or not be okay with that. Now, my personal opinion, if it stops the bloodshed and every faction, every organization finds that common ground, that way the youth could stop, terrorizing one another, shooting one another, killing one another on the streets, and so be it. Even back then, before the end of hostilities, being a Norteño on a yard, man, we had to find a reason to negotiate and have business with the Sureños because businesses would keep things at peace. A common ground, a mutual understanding keeps the peace. Because everybody knows in the prison society, if it goes up, people are going to end up dying. And that's just an uncomfortable environment to live in the first place, much less when them doors pop, somebody's going to be trying to take your head off your shoulders. So when he said that, I was like, okay, I'm going to take it at face value. But he also said that little by little, a lot of the Bulldogs were turning into Northerners, becoming Norteños. And he said that the filter and the program was called Operation Hill. So when I read that part, I'm like, you know what? If that's true, like I said, if that's true, this is the information he's providing. For one, that's a clever name, man. You got to give it to these guys. These guys will come up with some clever ideas and some clever names. But obviously, the hidden agenda behind it is to get rid of the Bulldog population, get their numbers back up, regain Fresno again. That might be the hidden agenda. That might not be. That's the only way I can interpret it just from an outside perspective. And I'm pretty sure you guys can do the same. But Operation Hill, if you think about the concept, is that they're just re-educating the Bulldogs on who they were before and who they should become again. Now, do I think the Bulldogs are going to stand for it? Well, if the Bulldogs ain't as deep as the NF and Norteños and Sureños and mafiosos, then it kind of makes it hard for them to make a stance and fight. But that's the thing. I've always known Bulldogs and their history to know that they're going to make a stance. If they don't agree with it, if they don't want to follow suit under your umbrella, they're going to fight. Even if they're too deep against 30 on the yard, they're going to fight you. I've seen it time and time again in prison. I've heard about it time and time again in prison. These guys they're not going to follow suit. They're not going to bow down to no other faction. That's why I said I don't understand how the feds really work. That a couple Bulldog from the streets catch a federal case, start functioning under NF umbrella, and they're okay with that. Then they're learning the education, which I know they stand against, period. Bulldogs hate education. I hate to tell you that, man. I mean, I had a lot of cellies that were Bulldogs. I met a lot of homies on the yard with Bulldogs. The thing they don't like is education. I can tell you that right now. They love to party. They love to fight. They'll fight you over a bar of Irish Spring. But the education is just not in their repertoire, if I use that right. So, Operation Hill. And I remember Boxer on Paradigm Media News talked about the reentry program, how Norteños and Familianos were coming together and opening up the books and allowing a lot of dropouts to reenter by paying a fine and getting it cleared, owing cleanup, a minimum of 5,000. Which to this day, I would like to meet one person that actually took him up on that offer and paid the 5,000 to get back on good standings, just to only hear his perspective on why he did it, why he chose to do it. Does he think it was worth it? How did he fall from grace? But they also said it all depends on the circumstances and how the individuals left. So that's why I can honestly believe that this might be true on Operation Hill about bringing Bulldogs back to the NF action, to the Norteño struggle, and just getting them on board and back into the program. Also mentioned something about, a Bulldog can't be considered a dropout just based on they weren't Northerners or something like that. That the only way that the NF can identify them and label them a dropout is that they have to drop out as a Norteño. That's why they're allowing these Bulldogs to undergo this process of Operation Hill to bring them back into good graces with the NF. Now, my question to you guys who are all either familiar with the prison politics or just the outside audience who, actually, find this kind of stuff fascinating, I'm pretty sure have a great deal of knowledge in all aspects of the prison politics. If this is true, do you think this is even possible? Because in all honesty, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of Bulldogs in this comment section that are really going to talk about nope, no sirree, Bob, not my job, Mac Drizzle. But I can't sit here just being from my standpoint and my positive message is to say, I agree with it, I condone it. I'm just providing you with the information that this individual provided me. Then there was a Southsider who said he just got done doing Fed time. His name's anonymous, but he also said that Bulldogs do function with the Southsiders and the Mexican Mafia. But there was rules. There could only be 3 Bulldogs per unit, which I get is reducing the numbers from them getting bigger and fighting and making a stance. 2, they weren't allowed to be celled up together. And 3, if it kicked off, they were front line. And then he actually stipulated that there was a time that it was gonna kick off in the feds between the Sureños versus the blacks down south, and the Bulldogs are right there on front line, ready to go, and that they were with the business. Which we all know Bulldogs are with the business. They'll fight anybody. They'll get jumped 10-1. They don't got a problem with it. So I read that comment, I take it at face value, like, okay, it's kind of hard for me to see Bulldogs with their arrogance, with their independence, so proud about it, that they'll allow a dictatorship or the Sureño program to tell me you can't never sell up with one of your own dogs. And then if it ever kicks off, you're the first one to go. Because that was the reason why they made a stance in the beginning against the NF anyways, because they felt that they were being used because they were frontline and they were always being placed frontline and they were the always ones putting in work. That's what made them stand against the Bulldog. That's what made them stand against the NF in the first place. So that one right there too, I was like up in the air with it. I was really up in the air with it. But like I said, I made this video not only because 2 of my subscribers elaborated on it. One of them wanted me to talk about it and provided the picture. But also, I can do a video and not have a sufficient amount of knowledge to provide. But I can make this video in a sense to, if you guys have any knowledge about it, blow this video up. You guys could talk about it, engage upon it. It's something I was willing to learn. Just like right here, one of them said the homies and the Bulldogs are together in Mendota, the facility of Mendota. I don't know where Mendota's at. I want to assume it's up north. And then another one says that they were in USP Victorville in 2021 when I was there. And then the subscriber follows through with, against MS-13, the Mendota. So that just goes to show that the Bulldogs and the Familianos and the Mexican Mafia, obviously they set their differences aside. Maybe that might work in the long run. Maybe some of that motivation, inspiration, common ground, mutual understanding can kind of spill over into the state and make the prison time a little bit more peaceful. That way we ain't always having a reason to go to war, finding a reason to go to war, or not knowing who we're going to war against, but we're going to war anyways. I think 50-something plus years of nothing but bloodshed and so many victims dying behind these belief systems because everybody just wants to see who got the bigger you-know-what and trying to take it over. You just got to find the common ground. Have that mutual understanding, a mutual agreement. So we can stop the bloodshed. The bloodshed didn't get nobody that far. Yeah, some people earned facilities. Some people have their own yards. Some people branched off and taken over so many streets. I mean, but sometimes you got to ask yourself, when is it really going to stop? I mean, how much more blood and how much more victims need to be spilled and need to be taken for everybody to reach that goal that they're reaching? You know, obviously 50 years of this made a difference, but didn't make a big difference to the point like everything still looks the same. There's a bigger world out there and a bigger society that's just looking at us like a small version of our own little criminal world, and then we're just taking each other out. So that was the best I could do with that video. That was the best education and information that I could provide for you guys, due to my subscribers providing me what they could provide. So I'll leave it in the comment section. You guys have any information on this, you guys are more than welcome to talk. I'm pretty sure the Bulldogs out here who watch my channel are going to have something to say. But let's all keep it positive, on a positive note. And I'll just leave it like that. So with that being said, like I always say, it's one life, one chance. We only got one chance to do this right. Let's get it done. Peace.